Hey everybody, it's Quinton here from FitPro Q&A and we're live on Facebook, and I've got Neil, my usual partner in crime here, and we found a fantastic PT in the UK that's running a great successful business over there, and we want to pick his brains about his business and how he got to where he is today. Andy, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Quinton. Thank you, Neil. Good to be here.
Great, man. So, Andy, I see on your website you're you're a runner, ex-runner, or current runner. Is that the basis of your business?
Running's been kind of like part of my life for years now. I was running before I was PT, and it kind of led the path because long before I was PT, I was in the good old world of IT. It was just basically technical support, but I worked in central London, and I was one of the typical people to like working behind a desk, and wasn't much a big fan of it at the time. But at a certain point in time, I got the kind of like the same kind of like tipping point for most people, and I was just like, no, I've got to do something about my own type of health stuff. So I started running, and that was like many years ago. And then it's basically because of kind of like business things in terms of the world of IT, I decided to jump ship from there. I had a quick reevaluation of my life after kind of like that IT one. I was just wondering what to do. I looked across the spectrum of things. Those kind of psychometrics that
Oh, yes.
schools tend to do, kind of going, oh, what career should you go into? And I was like, I carried out one of them from this private company, and they said it's like I should never be working in an office ever again. Um, and a range of jobs or careers came up, and it was physiotherapist, osteopath, firefighter, personal trainer. And I went and investigated every single one, and the personal trainer was one of the ones that kind of really kind of like piqued my interest. Especially as it matched where I was in terms of where I was with my running, as it were, because I was at the stage where I was hitting marathons every year. I was absolutely loving it. It was just like this is a thing. Obstacle racing as well. I'd kind of fallen into that world too. So I was hitting that quite well, and I was just it came to the stage of personal training or physiotherapist was the path that I had open to me, and I chose the personal training world, and it kind of led from there. Really, I just led the charge. Running was the one of the main kind of like driving forces behind that. Um,
Fantastic. And
I
and
think the law of attraction is really strong with you, Andy, because I mean, the physiotherapy came up, PT came up, and I think you've worked with runners, and that's kind of been a niche of yours. But something else has also snuck into the whole equation there of working with people that have obviously had some sort of injuries. You get referrals from medical doctors as well, and you also work with people that struggle with being in a gym and the anxiety around that. And a lot of people have that sense of judgment. Could you tell us a little bit about that kind of work that you do, and the kind of people that you're working with, and let people know that there are options? I think it's very empowering to know this.
Yeah, I mean that started off it was like a few years into kind of like actually being in a gym, because I went the classic route of going into kind of like a rent structured gym, and there was a kind of like a whole bunch of PTs, and obviously you try and find your feet, you do extra qualification, things like that, and a lot of the people that you find in a gym already have the confidence to kind of get in there and do kind of like the bits and pieces, but I was also kind of like advertising outside the gym. I obviously made the website to kind of go, here I am. Um, I built a relationship with one of my clients who was actually a web designer at the time, and he got on there, and he also was doing the Google advertising for me. So we kind of like built a relationship on that front. He was advertising me out, and then I was also went and got my level 4 qualification for obesity and diabetes with a GP referral added onto it, which meant that I could take on people in special conditions, rehabilitations and such like. And because that was added onto it, the website going out there and was advertising to kind of like the areas I was working in Southend and Thorpe Bay. I actually got quite a bit of interest from people external for the gym. So I ended up starting to do a few kind of like home visits, as such as like driving out and kind of like, it starts off in general because I was taking like the resistance bands and stuff like that with me. And it was kind of like you go around there doing half an hour kind of training session, kind of rehabilitation for those people who physically couldn't get out of the house. And then some people were kind of like not so sure about actually coming to the gym. I invited them to come to my local gym at the time. It was LA Fitness at the time, but they weren't so enthusiastic about that. So I would kind of go to their houses and do stuff like that. The obvious kind of spin round from that is I was still based in that gym, and obviously we got to a stage in start of 2020 where things changed dramatically for everyone, and that served as an extra kind of like fall over for the business. As I say, it's like it certainly annihilated quite a few people's kind of like fitness base. The actual kind of business base for myself took an absolute kicking, and it forced us into a position where I'd no longer had the luxury of being physically in the gym. So I was then basing myself out in the local areas of Thorpe Bay. So I was finding green spaces to operate from. At the time, we still weren't allowed in people's houses, so I didn't have that option either. So I was going to these kind of green spaces and hosting out from there. And so some people were kind of like, my existing client base would come and see me there. But what I also found is like, because it was kind of open air kind of things, people were still finding me through the online kind of like website, the Google ads and things like that. They were finding me, but I was also noticed physically in the area. People were driving past, and I get comments from other people who knew other people, because Thorpe Bay area has got quite a grapevine. That were saying, "Oh yeah, I saw you out," and so I was getting referrals because I physically existed out in the area, but I was being quite particular about where I was training. So it was nice to be out there and people having the fresh air, and it was quite focused. I wasn't running boot camp style stuff; it was quite focused stuff, and people quite enjoyed that, having the fresh air. Obviously, then the future projection was that once the gym started opening up and stuff like that, I also had the problem that my gym was one of the ones that eventually didn't return because of their whole kind of business problems and whatnot. So of course I ended up being gymless. Luckily for me, some friends kind of like were coming together in terms of making a kind of like a well-being sanctuary, of which they invited me into, and I came along and made my own space. And it kind of then allowed the same things to kind of keep on rolling from where it had been discovered before, that people kind of having that kind of special place with myself. And now I've got my own solo studio where it's just me, and there's no prying eyes. We've got frosted windows and stuff like that, so no one can see in, and it's just PT to client, no one else. So it's a very private space. And now I'm kind of finding that I am in a world where I'm training a lot more people who hate the gym or just don't want to be judged in the gym. And they're loving it. Like I get people inquiring to me, and as I say, is I ask them the questions like, why have you come to me? What is it you want me particularly for? Obviously, they want the experience of training and stuff like that, but they also kind of case of, because you're private, I don't have to worry about other people. I don't like the gym world. I don't want other people kind of like looking at me. And it's worked brilliantly. You know, it's like it's pulled in a lot of people just from existing in my own room. So yeah. And yeah, just like the improvements you see from people, it's boosted a lot of people's confidence, being that kind of ability to kind of like lock out the outside world, progress them, and their confidence improved now. So much so that they are now kind of going, actually, I can physically go to a gym now. I'm happy to do so, but they're still seeing me because they've had that journey with myself.
I think it's lovely as trainers to see progressions in your clients in many ways. A lot of the time it comes through weight loss and, muscle gain and the generic stuff, but to see someone be more comfortable and just open up more to exercise, and you being kind of making that space for them, I think that's really, really special. But I think, Andy, I think what I would like to touch on, I mean, it's beautiful that you're helping a lot of people within the Essex area, but people don't need to go to a place with frosted windows in order to be able to work out in a space that's private. And I think this is where online personal training is a very big thing, where a lot of people have misconceptions about it. They think it's going to be like completely impersonal and, you know, like it's just generic and things like that. But I know you work with a world-class app and you're able to deliver personalized programs to these people. Can you tell them a little bit about how someone can work with you on an online capacity, and maybe just shed a little bit of light on how you're running your online business?
Yeah, sure. So the online side of my world is I've kind of niched myself to the running kind of aspect of things, because that's the heart of where my kind of own personal kind of direction is. And obviously, if people ask me if they want me to be an online coach for them and it's weight loss and stuff like that, then I can still help. But with the app kind of system, I've been able to kind of like lock in the programs a lot better. We've moved away from the world of Excel, and it's nice to be able to kind of like quickly bolt together programs bespoke to the people. And as I say, it's like I got out from the stumbling blocks for the online coaching just before COVID kind of hit initially, and I had the worst start on it. Because I led myself. I wasn't having any kind of expertise kind of given to me. I hadn't taken on any kind of like businesses at that stage to kind of teach me, and tested it. I wasn't brilliant, and it took me a while to gradually kind of like build up the kind of knowledge base, until such time I actually was like, okay, I do need to kind of get help from some professionals here. So took on the services of a company who have educated me on how to deliver, helped me niche, and now it's seeing a lot more kind of like projection forwards, like a lot more kind of what's the word? It's gaining ground, because basically I'm into the kind of like my kind of area group of people hang.
Okay, Neil, looks like Andy is frozen there for a second.
Yeah, I think we just maybe have some internet problems, but this is kind of the thing that can happen on streams. Andy, are you back? We lost you both from. Quinton and I still had each other, and you disappeared. We're still streaming though.
Oh yeah.
You're just saying that how things are starting to pick up beautifully now. If you can just pick us up from there.
Yeah, sure. I spent some time kind of posting on Instagram. It didn't work so well, but then I kind of switched over and started working on pushing on Facebook, advertising on there. And one of the particular things I've done is create a runners challenge group. That is more designed to kind of going, right, okay, if you are a new runner, if you're wanting to improve from the basics, want some of the general tips and tricks that don't involve some of the more advanced stuff that the elites do with like VO2 maxes and things like that. It's more of a case of, right, how do you start as a runner? What's the kind of like things to help you get running? And that's where I hang out now, is I start off with those kind of groups of people, giving them kind of like, I start off with a little free product. It's basically, here's a challenge for you. Follow these things that I'm giving you. Basically, I'm giving you everything on this kind of thing. If you like it, then I can help develop you further in this kind of methodology. I can kind of show you these bits of pieces, and then I put them onto kind of like the Trainerized system, and it's a kind of like a full loaded program that they can then follow. And then they get weekly check-ins with me, but it's not the same kind of setup in terms of where it works with a PT face-to-face, where you've got an hour and you're watching and you're doing bits and pieces. It's a case of you have a 20 minutes, half-hour check-in where you kind of go, how's it going? And you discuss with them. They have access to me via WhatsApp and things like that, but it's a completely different world that it took me a while to get my head round, but now it's just like, okay, I can get to this. And it's more of a kind of like it's a coaching kind of like, how's this gone for you? Okay, now we need to make these improvements. We'll tweak this, we'll move this. And it's a week to week kind of change it. Then they go away with the tools and go and play. So it's interesting to see. And you do see some interesting developments with people doing that. And it's something that, I'll be honest, if you dial me back 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't have faith would be possible. I'll be honest, it's like when I first looked at the online world, I was like, I don't see how this works.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at going, fair enough. It does have its strong merits. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if from the trend, let's put the privacy side aside. The privacy things aside, it's very cool that someone can exercise at whatever gym they are on the other side of the world or in a private space where they're feeling comfortable. But there's a win-win situation here. And just as clients had a preconceived idea about online training, so did trainers. And we've also needed to open our minds up to this whole thing, because for us, we get a better quality of life as trainers, but for the clients, they get the same knowledge that Andy has in his brain, but without having to pay him as much for that, that one-on-one, 1 hour completely focused time. It can be more coaching. So from a client's perspective, they can work from anywhere, but also they've got access to you whenever they want to at a cheaper rate. So it really works out on both sides. So well done for opening yourself up to it and finding out how to do it. I know it's changed my life completely. So I'm glad there's other people advocating for this hybrid session, because people can still see you in person, but they can also see you online, which is a very, very cool thing that you're offering, Andy. And thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a great and interesting journey, I have to say. Felt it. It's been good. Yeah.
Yeah, and Andy, the future, is there anything else that you still want to do, and how do you see your business developing over the next few years?
Well, certainly, whilst I'm physically able, I still like to do the face-to-face stuff, and I want to eventually kind of cut that down a little bit as I lose clients physically. The hours will gradually reduce down. So obviously, as a typical PT, kind of aimed for kind of like a perfect world of like, okay, I've got to work for like 35 to 40 hours worth of clients a week, and I'm kind of at the stage of kind of actually, I want that to start to shrink down. So whereas particularly when I created my own new studio, I pushed hard on leafleting the area, just kind of bring clients in, try and get new ones, and really kind of like pounded the streets to try and draw them in, to really try and get myself back up to full capacity. And this was in advance of obviously where the online side was starting to pick up. So I was really kind of pushing for that. And now I'm at the stage where I'm kind of going, well, I don't really want to be pushing that anymore, because this part of my business is now picked up, that I can now kind of go, this side I can let it shrink a little bit to give me back hours. So eventually the nicety for me would be to kind of like go, okay, I'll let it just come back down to maybe I can shut down a day or two a week and I'll get a lot more home life. But obviously kind of like the opportunity, that means that I can then do operation of the online business at home more so and expand that. So the idea is I don't want to let go of the physical side of it. I want to shrink it down to probably around about 15 to 20 hours worth of work a week, and then expand up the online side of things. And it will just mean that I could wake up on a Monday and go, I actually don't need to leave today. I can stay here, open up the laptop, get cracking with work, programs galore, check-ins, and then that's it. And that will be the kind of like the world where basically in 2 years' time I want to be, is like 20 hours most physically, and then the rest of it will be all online. That's the goal, until such time as I'm more physically unable. I'm 40 now, so I know I've got a certain amount of time left on the clock for that, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think it's fantastic that you've sort of the penny dropped for you as well, that being a PT is not just about being a service provider and trading time for money, but actually bringing the whole aspect of being a business owner, and how can I grow my business without me being the magic in the business, and actually getting people on the app and duplicating yourself in that way, and growing your business, because that's ultimately what it's is going to give you a big business and set you free time wise.
Yeah.
I think that number is kind of different for everyone. So it's a nice conversation that you sparked just for the trainer side, for any other trainers that are watching this and maybe feel like they might give up on training one day. I mean, I know, Andy, you're talking about like an expiry date, but realistically, it doesn't matter what age you are. If you are just pushing face-to-face training, I think you're heading for burnout. I don't think it's realistic to be in the industry long term and it to be your full-time profession. If you're trying to wake up 5 a.m., service all the clients throughout the day, and then when they get from work and then you're in the gym like 40 hours a week or something like that. For me, I already said this off camera, but I've been fully in person and I've been fully online. And I would take fully online any day, but I'm also in the same kind of space as you. So I do about 12 hours of in-person PT per week, and then the rest of my stuff is online, and that's a good balance for me. I don't feel like I need to do 30-hour pluses. I don't think it's sustainable. So thank you for sharing that. And I think if you're a trainer and you're listening to this, there is hope. There is a way to do hybrid. You can still see that client. You can still have that interaction. But you can also have more time freedom if you're more of a business owner, like Quinton was saying. So I think that's a nice way to end off the session.
Yeah, Andy, thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else? Anybody out there looking for a trainer in your area in Essex or even online? Any message for them? Why should they come and join you?
Training with me, apart from obviously, if you're doing face-to-face, you get a nice private little studio, but online as well, obviously there's full coaching programs, full accountability, but also that push that you need where I can provide. And it's not the, I actually do pride myself is that I'm not that example stereotype of a PT that's the shouty kind of ex-military PT, PTI that's kind of like screaming at you. I'm a much more friendly basis. I do get the kind of comment that I'm a much more relaxed and chilled approach, and not the aggressive kind of angry side of things. A lot of people are a lot more kind of like amenable to kind of like, okay, he's a nice guy and he's not going to judge me. He's not going to be angry at me. It's just a case of I take people from A to B. They decide what A is and they decide what B is, and it's up to me to adapt to them.
Yeah, the people can still get the results.
So that's a great reason to be working with you, Andy. So you're not that military, like I'm going to scare you into doing your work. I'm actually going to work with you and find solutions that work for you. So if you are one of these people, how do we get in touch with Andy? What is the best way to get in touch with you? And also any social media platforms that you'd like us to point our attention to? Website, social media, give it to us all.
Well, I'm based in various different locations. So my main website is www.andycollier.co.uk. So it's nice and simple. My Instagram is @Andy Collier PT. Nice and simple again. Facebook, where I do most of my work, is Andy Collier Personal Trainer. I think the actual @ is the same, Andy Collier Personal Trainer. And that's where most of my work is. But obviously I can be emailed andy@andycollier.co.uk. That's if people still use much of email nowadays. It all seems to be Instagram and stuff like that. But I am on all of those particular resources. And I've got various kind of links. I've got my link tree via my Instagram and Facebook page where you can see all my various resources, booking calls, and so I see example stuff that I do. That's how you get hold of me, and that's a booking.
All right, Andy, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, and hopefully we'll stay in touch and hear more about Andy's big business growing all over the world.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been great.
All right, cheers.
Really appreciate your time, Andy. Thank you. We learned a lot from you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.